Coming up next on MASL Primetime, two league heavyweights squared off south of the border as San Diego and Monterey went toe-to-toe. Rochester was looking for its first win of the season and provided one of the goals of the year. Utica got pushed to the limit by St. Louis, and Harrisburg Heat goalie William Banahene joins us via Skype to talk about his team's incredible resurgence this season. Get your dancing shoes on. MASL Primetime is coming up next. This is MASL Primetime. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Alex Bastyovansky. You know, it's now been just over 9 months, but if you mention last season's Western Conference Final to San Diego Sockers fans, it's still a pretty tender subject. After putting together a nearly flawless regular season record of 23 wins against just a single loss, the Sockers faced Monterey for the right to advance to the Ron Newman Cup Final, but the Flash happily dashed the hopes and dreams of Sockers fans by upsetting them on the road in San Diego. Now, they had to wait 9 long months, but finally, the blue and gold had their first shot at revenge last Monday as the two squads squared off south of the border. Highlights in this segment are brought to you by Mitre Soccer. Mitre is the official soccer ball of the MASL. It's safe to say this was the most highly anticipated game of the season so far. Arena Monterey was jammed, 6,000 on hand to take it all in. And as mentioned, San Diego was looking for revenge, but it's the home side that hits first. Beautiful pass off the boards from Brian Aguilar to Eric Rosas. 1-0. Back come the visitors, though. No style points, but it's the end result that matters. Taylor Bond makes it 1-1. Again, though, the Sockers getting burned by the pass off the boards. Hugo Puentes there to deposit. Second quarter, with Monterey up 3-1, San Diego cuts into their lead. Brandon Escoto to Slava Yupi Paripovic. 3-2. Back and forth they went. Eduardo Gray crushing it past Boris Pardo. Let's skip ahead to the fourth quarter now. Monterey up 7-5. At this point, Eric Tovar with a screamer to make it a one-goal game. Then with just under a minute left, Luis Ortega's shot gets deflected in. That tied things up, and that set up the dramatic overtime finish in Monterey. Eduardo Garay playing the hero for Monterey. San Diego's revenge will have to wait for another day. The Sockers' Mexican adventure continued in Sonora. Keeper Boris Pardo gets tested early on, but sprawls to make the nice stop. Craig Childs, San Diego's all-time leading scorer, and he had another massive game going right through the legs here of Irving Murillo. Childs just clinical on those free kicks. 1-0. 2 minutes later, it's Luis Ortega smashing it past Alejandro Gallardo. That makes it 2-0 for the Sockers on the beautiful goal. The Solas cut that lead in half, though. Gustavo Rosales to Eric Flores for the finish, and he climbs the glass. Pretty pumped up, as was Mr. Sun himself at the end of the quarter. Second quarter, trailing 3-2. Gustavo Rosales going short side on Pardo, and he does a little glass climbing himself. And then it's Jesus Avendano with one of the goals of the week. Scintillating strike. Pardo just can't catch up to it. To Sonora, its first lead, up 4-3. Second half, San Diego would equalize. First, it's Childs on the doorstep, and then with the score 5-5, Eduardo Velez with pretty much the same play right on the goal line. The Sockers would keep control the rest of the way as they dropped Sonora by a 9-6 count to go 1-1 on their Mexican adventure. An East-West matchup, Dallas hosting the red-hot Florida Tropics, and Victor Pereras had a big game for the Tropics, and he gets them on the board. Just 27 seconds in, he smokes the one-timer past Carlos Enriquez, the first of many for FLA. Late in the quarter, Drew Ruggles, the perfect pass to Ricardo Carvalho. Second half, Luca Teixeira leaves Enriquez no chance with the quick strike, 4-0 at that point. And then another beauty, Josh Sandoval. Florida seriously was giving a clinic on how the arena game should be played. They shut out the sidekicks. Pereiras talked to Matt Thornton afterwards about his early goal.
It was a good goal. It's good to start early on the scoreboard. I think it gave my teammates a little bit of confidence to go and play the game we were supposed to play. And I'm happy with that.
Okay, let's take a look at your MASL points leaders through 11 weeks of play, and Leo the Legend continues to lead the way with 38 points, followed by Brian Aguilar, Nick Pereira, last year's MVP, Enrique Cañez, Ricardo Carvalho, and Frank Taillou. And welcome back to MASL Primetime. The Harrisburg Heat have been one of the most improved teams in the league this season. After finishing with a sub-500 record last year, Harrisburg had shot out to an 8-4 record through 10 weeks of play, but not everybody was completely sold quite yet on their resurgence. 6 of their 8 victories, after all, had come against the winless Rochester Lancers, while Harrisburg had a chance to shut their detractors up once and for all last weekend if they could take down a strong Tacoma squad that was brimming with confidence, coming off a win against the previously unbeaten Monterey Flash. Tacoma entered the game on a high, but boy, they dug themselves a deep hole in this one. First minute of play, Patrick Thompson gets his head on it to make it 1-0 for the Heat. 5 minutes later, Tavoy Morgan, with one of the primetime plays of the week, no doubt about it, spins off his man, dances past Danny Waltman, killer moves. With the score 2-1, Ty Hall gets chopped down inside the box. Dom Francis will take the penalty, and the Huddersfield Hammer doesn't miss those. Top shelf to make it 3-1. Patrick Thompson played like a man possessed against Tacoma. 3 goals on the day, this being the second as he manages to poke it past Waltman. 4-1 for the Heat. Now, I mentioned Tacoma dug itself a hole. Well, they were down 6-1 when Douglas Lima cuts it to 6-2. And then Nick Pereira gets going, which is always bad news for the opposition. 6-3. Harrisburg was up 7-5 in the second half when Alex Morgan jumps all over the miscue here and pulls the Stars to within a single goal. But every time they got close, Harrisburg would push them away. Ty Hall, the header on the doorstep, to pad their lead a bit more. Late in the fourth now, final minute, Tacoma down by 2 with the 6th man out on the floor. Pereira makes it a 1-goal game, but that's as close as they would get. Harrisburg wins a wild one. Pereira talked afterwards about how he liked how his team fought back, but ultimately it was just a bridge too far on this day.
And the second we started to decide to match the energy they were putting out, I think the tide changed. Unfortunately for us, it took us too long, and it's too big of a hole. And having said that, we ended up only losing by 1, but being down 6-1 is not acceptable.
Okay, Ontario hosting the Sonora Soles. Enrique Cañez, just 5 points right now off the MASL scoring lead, and he continued his dominant ways in this contest. 4 of 5 in. Enrique, sweet moves. He makes it 1-0 for the Soles. Second quarter, Justin Stinson, some fancy footwork of his own as he blows it past Alejandro Gallardo to make it 1-1. Soon after, though, Sonora had the Fury scrambling, and then finally Christian Espinoza pumps it into the back of the cage. 2-1 Soles. And then Manuel Aragon plays the bank shot off the boards across the line. Second half, down by a goal at this point, Frank Taillou. Just makes it look so easy. Doesn't even break a sweat. That ties it at 3. This went to a shootout with the score 1-1. Efrain Martinez gives Sonora a second tally, and then Gallardo comes up with the massive stop on Frank the Legend. And the next Sonora player missed, but so did Justin Stinson to finish it off. So the Solas win the game 4-3. Afterwards, Fury coach Jimmy Nordberg gave Sonora full props for the win. Utica City hosting the St. Louis Ambush. Christian Segura gets the home side on the board first as he dances past Jonathan Santos and smashes it home. 1-0 UCFC, and they would make it 2. Nate Bordeaux controls and crushes the Blues up 2-0. St. Louis, though, does get one back. JT Thomas right through that wall. 2-1 after 15 minutes. Second quarter, Uros Momic, right place at the right time, actually puts it in off the ambush defender, and then some kisses for the big crowd after. Nearly 4,000 on hand in Utica. Great crowd. The ambush stuck with them, though. Stefan St. Louis squeezing it past Andrew Coughlin. Just a 1-goal game. Third quarter, Paulo Nascimento, so good for the ambush and goal this year, but he would love to have that one back. Ricardo Dieguez punishes the mistake, and that proves to be the game winner, 4-3. The Outlaws hosting Florida and another East-West showdown, 4-42 win. It's Double G. Gordy Gerson tipping it home on the doorstep here, giving the visitors the 1-0 advantage. 10 seconds later, brutal giveaway. Right to Antonio Manfoot, and that's a man's goal. 2-0 FLA. They led 3-0 when Mesquite notched their first. Jorge De Leon. Nice work to get the ball past Hugo Silva, but Florida just too much. Zach Reggett bounces it under the bar to make it 4 goals. Mesquite, to its credit, stays right with the powerful Tropics, but Florida holds on for the 5-3 victory. Okay, let's look at the goalies now and take a look at the goals against leaders in the MASL. Hugo Silva leading the way, followed by Andrew Coughlin, Rafa Diaz, William Venzela, William Banahene, and Boris Pardo. Hey, welcome back to MASL Primetime. One of the most improved teams in the league this year has been the Harrisburg Heat, no doubt about it. They're coming off a huge win last weekend. And here to talk more about the season so far is Harrisburg goalkeeper William Banahene. William, welcome to the show, my friend.
Hey, thank you for having me, Alex.
Let's talk about your big road trip. You just got back from that West Coast swing and big win over Tacoma on Friday, 11-10 victory for the Heat. And I guess we could say definitely one of the crazier games you've been involved with this year.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's probably the craziest game I've been involved in my early career of the MASL. But, you know, we got out to a good, healthy lead, 6-1. But, you know, a team like Tacoma, you know that they're not going to roll over easily. And, you know, they're going to come and we were up 10-7 and 10-7 at the end, and they got 3 goals with 6 attacker. It came down right to the wire, but we were able to hold off. So it was a good victory with the travel.
Yeah, great win, and of course they had a ton of confidence coming off that win against unbeaten Monterey before. So yeah, no question about it. This season, you guys sport a 9-4 record. You've almost matched your entire win total from last year when you had 11. Obviously, things have really been clicking for you guys. Talk about the team's play.
Yeah, I think we're just improving from the beginning of last year. We knew it was going to be a project. You know, we had a very young team, very inexperienced team, and we're just starting to click and get it. We're still improving, and we're starting to actually learn how to play with each other, and because we have the nucleus of the team back from last year. So I think we're just improving and getting better, and exciting to see where we're going to go.
Dominic Francis, the man from Huddersfield, England, leads your team in scoring, and he's actually only 4 off the MASL goal scoring lead. And he's been part of an incredibly potent offense on the Heat. You guys rank 3rd in team scoring with 99 goals. Talk about that offense and about Dominic's play this year.
Yeah, Dom's been great. I think he's scored in 13 consecutive games, which is absolutely crazy when you think of the consistency that he's had. We have a lot of potent players, William Morgan, defenders, Dylan Hondow, and Ellen, they've all poked some in. So we're getting goals from all over. I think most of our team has at least 1 goal. So we can definitely find goals from all over. But it definitely takes the pressure off the defense when you have such attacking power.
No question about it. Great scoring depth this year. Let's talk about you for a second here. You're a native of Rochester, New York. You played your university soccer at Buffalo State. And just talk about how you first got involved in the arena game. Was it something you played as a kid as well, or are you still fairly new to it?
Well, I mean, in Rochester, if anyone who has not been there, it snows a lot, so you're playing a lot of indoor soccer. So actually, my first game as a goalkeeper was indoor, but I didn't play for a while. I was kind of done going in the professional route, but a mutual friend of Don Francis reached out to me. Don reached out to him, and I came up to preseason, and the rest was history. But I love the game. It's an exciting game. If you are a fan of fast-paced soccer, outdoor soccer, a little too slow, it's definitely that little flick that makes it.
And of course, in the 11v11 game, you can go long stretches where the goalie doesn't even touch the ball, of course, and that is not the case in arena soccer. You see tons of action. Let's talk about it. You talked about scoring depth and getting goals from everyone, and that includes you, sir. As 3 weeks ago against Sonora, you sealed the win for your team by scoring in the dying seconds of the game. And I watched your interview afterwards. I loved it. You were pretty pumped up, and you said you couldn't remember the last time you'd scored. Just take us through what happened.
Yeah, no, to add on that, I played lacrosse growing up. I didn't score much either. So even getting a goal, it was nice, a nice feeling. But it was, we had that timeout right before that happened when they were bringing the 6-pack around, and I asked Coach if I get the ball, do I go for it? And a couple of times last year I went for it and I completely missed. So I was kind of hesitant of doing it. So I get the ball in my hands and out in my ear, just like, throw the ball, throw it. So I was like, oh, well, here goes nothing. And I just threw it, took a good bounce, and it just went in. And then after that, I don't really remember, just people jumping on me, and it was an awesome feeling. But it was something that I'll never forget.
Yeah.
MASL moments.
They mobbed you like you just won the Ron Newman Cup. It was great to see. You were the man of the hour. The fans are going crazy. I love it. Listen, man, you guys you're having a great season so far. It is so good to see how well you're doing. And boy, it's made things so interesting at the top of the East. It's going to be a real dogfight this year. Thanks so much for taking the time today, and we'll chat with you later on. Good luck. All right, more MSL Primetime coming up in just a moment. Welcome back to MASL Primetime. The Orlando Seawolves have had a rough go of things so far this season. Through 10 weeks of play, they had won just a single contest. Now, it certainly hasn't helped that they've had to play an emerging MASL power in the Florida tropics 5 times so far, accounting for 5 losses. Well, last weekend was a case of out of the frying pan and into the fire as they faced some new opposition. Unfortunately for the Seawolves, that opponent just happened to be a very hungry Baltimore Blast squad. Game highlights in this segment are brought to you by Sports Resource Group, proud partner of the MASL. SRG, building walls that bring us together. Orlando, we feel for you. You were facing an angry Baltimore squad that hasn't played up to its abilities this season, but you still can't do that. Sloppy. Victor France happily accepting the gift. Ibrahima Keita works hard for this one in comparison as he turns Jeff Michaud inside out. Beautiful finish to make it 3-zip. Second quarter, give and go perfection here. Tony Donatelli smashing the return feed top shelf to put them up by 4. On to the third down. Jamie Thomas deposits the big rebound into the back of the net. That made it 5-0. Baltimore just in full control on this day as they shut out the Seawolves by a 7-0 count. Okay, Rochester was looking for his first win of the season. They were still searching after this game. Tony Donatelli, beautiful shot off the wing there to make it 1-0. Juan Pereira had a monster game for the Blast. He notched 4 goals. This one was his first off a penalty, and it was a 2-goal Baltimore advantage. And then 7 minutes later, he will stick with the play here and then finally hammer the ball past Brian Wilkin. Late in the quarter, Donatelli off the restart, he puts it home, and in it goes. Rochester got 1 on the day, and it was nice. Anthony Rosano makes it happen. Unfortunately for the Lancers, they were 8 short in this contest as Baltimore ends up taking it 9-1. But the Lancers were much more competitive against St. Louis. It was Cancer Awareness Night in Rochester. The team wearing pink shirts to raise money. Nearly 4,000 on hand. Great crowd, Rochester. The ambush draw first blood, though. Mike Scharf makes it 1-0 St. Louis. And then Otemio Souza smashes it past the keeper to put them up by 2. Then one of the goals of the year. Check this out.
Oh, what a goal! Woo! What a goal from Frankie Siliberto! You've got to be kidding me!
Frank Siliberto, and you will see that again in the plays of the week. Oh yes, you will. Guarantee it. Still in the first, down 4-1. Michael Cunningham rips the shot past Paulo Nascimento. Second quarter, they draw to within 1. Jeremy Ortiz playing the bank shot perfectly, 1 of 3 on the day for Jeremy. Second half, though, St. Louis really turned it on. Here, Souza has the gorgeous strike to make it 8-3. One positive for Rochester, though, they scored their highest goal total of the season. 16-8 was the final, but the big crowd loved it. Lancers fans have really fallen in love with this team despite their first-year struggles. Jeremy Ortiz talked about it afterwards.
This year hasn't been the way we wanted to, but we got a young squad. These guys are energetic, passionate, and optimistic, and sooner rather than later, things are going to start clicking. And
okay, let's check out this week's naughty list. And nada. Peace and love reigned in week 11. Not a single suspension to tell you about. Okay, let's check out the team of the week for week number 11. And it is Brian Aguilar, Craig Childs, Gustavo Rosales, Elton de Oliveira, and teammates Drew Ruggles and Hugo Silva of the Florida Tropics. This week's Sport Turf Primetime player, and it is San Diego legend Craig Childs, the soccer's all-time leading scorer, and he had a heck of a week. 2 games against the Mexican squads, Monterey and Sonora. 5 goals, 1 assist as Childs continues to be the ageless wonder for the Soccers. And our primetime plays of the week for week 11, number 5, Monterey's Brian Aguilar to Eric Rosas, arena soccer at its finest right there. Number 4, Sonora's Jesus Avendano punishing the miter ball against San Diego. Number 3, Baltimore's Ibrahima Keita against Orlando, turning the defender inside out and finishing in style. Number 2, Harrisburg's Tavoy Morgan wrecking shop against Tacoma, leaving players strewn all over the pitch and beating Danny Waltman. Very nice. But undisputed this week, Rochester's Frankie Siliberto on his bicycle against St. Louis. And we've got to thank the Rochester TV crew, actually, for all these great angles, doing it justice. Frankie, you definitely have the primetime play of the week. And that's all the time we've got for this week. But just a reminder, MASLsoccer.com is your home base for all things in the Major Arena Soccer League. And of course, there's all kinds of other social media right there to keep you up to date as well. Thank you so much for watching MASL Primetime. We'll see you next week.